It's countdown to kickoff. Well, welcome again, Army sports fans. This is Bill Crawdad Crawford, and this is Crawdad's Countdown to Kickoff. And the mere sound of my voice lets you know that it's time for Army Black Knight football. And we are in studio today, and we're on our sister station streaming on the Blitz. We will stream here every now and then. And by the way, the Army games will stream on the Blitz every Saturday live. So if you go to the App Store and get the Blitz app, you can listen to the Army games wherever you want to from your iPhone. In studio tonight, I have, as usual, Colonel Tom Economy.
Back for another year, Bill. How exciting, Army football, man.
Hey, back for another year, and this is year 12. Steve Cripey, the human Ouija board, is on the road tonight, and he couldn't be with us, so we have as his backup Patrick Saxby. Patrick, how are you doing?
Doing great. Big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill, and we're going to test your Army football knowledge tonight. But, folks, this is the first game of the year. We had a great year last year, and we're going to have a good show for you tonight. We are going to talk about the last year just a little bit. We're going to interview Coach Mike Veety. Coach Veety was the
Friend of the show,
and also our friend on Facebook. But Coach Veety has been on the show many times before. He's moved up from fullbacks coach to offensive line coach. And later on, we're also going to have blogger extraordinaire Johnny Brooks. You should be able to be listening to this show live on the Blitz or on Facebook.
It is posted. Just checked it.
Hey, wow. So the video's working. So I do believe, Chad, we have a caller on line two. I think we have a caller on line two. But
You're just making stuff up.
I'm just making stuff up.
Yeah,
Well, I guess we don't have a caller on line two. But our production crew is. Do we have a caller on line two? Brian, are you there?
I am.
Hey, Brian, thanks. A little bit of a technical issue with my earphones and my noggin. Brian Hammaker joins us tonight. He is our great sponsor from NorthAlabamaMortgage.com. Brian, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Excited to be sponsoring another year.
Well, that's good. We are glad you sponsored us for another year, but let me ask you this. I know you have mortgage companies all over the Southeast, in North Alabama, Tennessee, and in Florida. Why would a veteran want to consult with North Alabama Mortgage to solve their mortgage needs?
Well, Bill, we do VA loans every single month. We do a lot of them. We can assist the veteran in getting their certificates of eligibility, help them transfer it from one property to another property without them having to go through the headaches to get that done. And in almost every case, a VA loan is the best choice for folks that have eligibility.
Well, and I think eligibility is nice, but don't you also pre-qualify people pretty rapidly?
Yes, sir. We do it in, for all practical purposes, it's a 5 to 15 minute process to get someone pre-approved. It's a short, clean process. We do a lot of business, and we know how to do it quick with as little hassle as possible.
Well, Brian, I know you offer VA loans, but don't you offer a plethora of other loan packages for the general public?
Yes, sir. We do everything. All conventional products, the FHA, USDA products, and every investment loan you can imagine we offer.
Well, I know this. I can be a personal testament to North Alabama Mortgage because, as you well know, I used you this year. And if if a technical moron, and believe me, in studio tonight, I have proven the point of
Let's
technical
not even
moron.
go there.
Let's not
Oh, my
even go
God.
there. But if I could navigate through your system, anybody can. It's very simple, very user-friendly. And, Brian, we look forward to having you here this year. And tell us how people can get in touch with North Alabama Mortgage.
Easiest thing to do is just go to northalabamamortgage.com. All of our contact information is there. We welcome any questions, whether you just want to get something answered about your eligibility or just something about transferring from one property to another. We're always there to help you.
And I can attest to that, Brian. We will be talking to you soon. I'll hope to see you next Tuesday night. And that is Brian Hammaker, our great sponsor from
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
NorthAlabamaMortgage.com. So now let's get into the first segment of the show and talk just a little bit about last year. Tom, what was your good takeaway from last year as we head into another winning year?
I'd say I don't think you could look at last year without having a little bitter taste in your mouth about the Navy game. But the fact that we were able to overcome that, come back and beat an SEC team in a bowl game, I mean, all in all, I think it was a good season for Army football. Just painful to lose like that to Navy.
Pat?
Yeah, so I want to agree with you there. Thanks. Yeah, so first of all, huge letdown. I think since before the streak started, I think we all thought this is the one chance we're going to crush Navy. Yeah. Obviously, it didn't pan out. We rebounded, upset Mizzou, huge win for us. So that's a testament to the team. What stood out to me last year was the depth of the quarterback room. It was always the next man up mentality. And that really showed in the Missouri game. I think we had 3 quarterbacks come through in the clutch. So real interested to see how that develops this year with, a couple graduations in the quarterback room.
Well, in the quarterback room for Army, you certainly better have a few people there because we have a lot of issues with injury. I think we have 5 quarterbacks that are available to play this year. And I'll tell you my take on last year, which dovetails into this year, and that is expectation management. I know we were having dinner before this and kind of laughing and joking about the Army days of Rich Ellerson and others where our expectation would be, let's play them close. Tom and I would watch the games, and we'd say, well, we're down 24 points in the fourth quarter, but if we get an onside kick and intercept a pass, and now our expectation is that we're going to have a winning season every year, and we're going to go to a bowl game. And quite frankly, under Monken, 4 out of his 5 years, that has been the case.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting this year. When you start out with a tough game like Coastal Carolina, regardless what happens, if we play well, I think the expectations go through the roof. And if something happens and we don't play well, man, they just be calling for Monken's head. It's just the fan base just has such a level of expectation now, which is both. I mean, much better to have this than be pessimistic and say, God, do you think we're going to get to a bowl game this year?
Well, I guess you could say that the good news and the bad news is the good news is we win a lot more than we used to, and the bad news is we're kind of getting that Crimson Tide mentality where any sort of a loss is a disaster. But and we will get into the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers later on, but that is going to be a pretty tough game. And you mentioned the quarterback room. If you're an Army fan out there, you're pretty well aware of the fact that we have Tyler Tyler, I think, is our number 1 quarterback now, and he's.
I don't think they haven't made an announcement as to who's going to start. It's either going to be Cade Ballard or Tyler Tyler. That's what Monken said yesterday.
I have made an announcement.
You heard it here first.
Tyler Tyler is going to start, and Patrick, haven't you heard also that his ability to throw the ball has greatly increased over the past season?
I've seen that, and maybe that trick play in the bowl game was something for us to look forward to. Seen some reports just through spring, through the offseason. Can't recall where I saw it, but that his passing ability has improved. We all know that he's an incredible runner, but the fact that he's able to hopefully throw it a little more maybe will open up our playbook and be less of a double option, more of a traditional triple option.
Well, and if they give him the option to
run the option,
yeah,
yeah,
right.
How about that?
So rather than the called plays, they never looked like last year. They gave him the freedom to really run the option or run the offense.
Well, no, last year it seemed like 90% of the time that he had the ball, he was just
Quarterback keeper.
quarterback keeper, run around the right, quarterback keeper. I never saw him pitch, never saw him do anything like that. Well, occasionally he did, but one thing about Tyler, he's not a big guy, but last year we had Connor Hughes on, the fitness trainer. Yes, folks, we are indeed here I was accused of being the technical moron today, and our guest Patrick didn't have his mic plugged in. Why don't you say something?
Notice he said guest. This is my first time in the studio. I have no idea what I'm doing. So
Well, that's okay. You're doing pretty good.
That's okay. It's not our first time, and we still don't have an idea what we're doing.
But last year, Connor Hughes, I remember asking him a question. I said, who is the toughest player on the team? And without hesitation, he said, Tyler. So there's got to be something going on there that wasn't obvious last year on the playing field, except occasionally he breaks off a hellacious run. And our fullback room's pretty good this year. We've got Jacoby Buchanan back, and what's the thing that's never happened to him? That's a softball question, if ever there was one.
he has never been tackled for loss.
Never been tackled. That's amazing.
I think he's
about
got
it.
250 plus rushes, and he's never been tackled behind the line of scrimmage. It's incredible.
That's absolutely incredible.
That's something that you really don't ever hear of. And we also bring back running back Tyrell Robinson. I met his parents last year at the Georgia State game, and last year he averaged 8.5 yards a carry. That's unheard of this day in football.
Yeah, and he's also, I think probably more important, he's just such a weapon on special teams. That's it's exciting when he's back, either for a kickoff or a punt.
Yeah, that's one thing, Patrick, when you watch the games with us. Every time they kick off, Tom's famous quote is, we are due to have a kickoff return for a touchdown.
We are. I still think 2007, Anderson was the last one to return a punt for a touchdown. But I think Robinson's going to do it.
That's like almost pre-cell phone.
Just about.
Well, we are hopefully optimistic that may happen this year. And speaking of the kicking game, Zach Harding, you don't think about the punter that often. I know in Alabama's lean years, that's all we bragged about was the punter. But we lost Zach Harding. He's on a pro roster right now. And that guy could flip the field, without a doubt. He could flip the field. I don't know if they're going to replace him adequately, but he was a weapon.
Yeah, the odds are we're not going to get Zach Harding again. Zach wasn't that way when he started as a sophomore. But, Monken has just done a great job of reloading. So I don't think that we'll go back to the days where it was biting your fingernails because we're getting ready to punt. Yeah.
And this year for our listeners, you may not know this, but Will Anderson for Alabama led the country in sacks last year. Number 2 was Andre Carter of Alabama, and he is
of where?
Of Army.
That's what I thought you said.
Pardon, that was one of them Freudian slips. But he is projected to be a number 1 draft choice. I don't recall us ever having a number 1 draft choice, and he's on a lot of watch lists, All-America teams. Things are going to go good for him. So, Chad, we're going to go ahead and take our first break, and we will be back in a few minutes with Coach Mike Vitti, who is now the coach of the offensive line. Pardon me for my little technical inabilities and, stumbling and bumbling, and as Chris Berman would say, stumbling, bumbling, rumbling in our first little outing. So we're going to go ahead and take a break now, and we're ready to go break in 3, 2, 1. Not yet. We're still breaking.
Here's Bobby White from Woody Anderson Ford on their service department.
President's Award winner 2 years in a row. That's only given to the top 10% of Ford dealers in customer satisfaction. So we're very proud of the service department. And our body shop. If you happen to get into an accident, which not a lot of people just want to go down and see a body shop, but if you get into an accident, award-winning body shop. We have state-of-the-art paint booths back there. They're waterborne paints that we use, friendly for the environment. We've got our production system, the way things are in and out. We have the fastest cycle rate in town of getting your vehicle in, getting your vehicle out, and assured that it's fixed right. We take pictures before it's wrecked, and not only after, but we take it as we're putting the parts on, all done to above industry standards. So I'm proud of our body shop too. Don't forget our parts department. So you don't have to need parts, performance parts, or just parts if you're a weekend mechanic.
Woody Anderson Ford, located at the corner of Jordan and Sparkman, as well as Hughes Road and Madison. You can also check out the great deals at WoodyAndersonFord.com.
What's better than Valley Equipment Rental? 2 Valley Equipment Rentals, and that's just what we have now. The original on the South Memorial Parkway between Drake and Airport Road, and their second location on North Memorial Parkway just north of Winchester Road. Valley Equipment is locally owned and has more skid steers, excavators, and lifts than anyone in the area, plus all the small tools that you need to get the job done like a pro. And if you are a pro, you need to check out the new North location now because Valley Equipment has what you need. Learn more at valleyequipmentrents.com. Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
Organizations using Salesforce know how powerful the platform is and how much time, money, and headaches it saves if it's set up right and you know how to use it. Let's face it, Salesforce is complicated and time-consuming to figure out, and a lot can go wrong now and down the road without expert help. That's why most Salesforce users work with an implementation partner like Higher Echelon, so they get the absolute most out of their Salesforce investment. Higher Echelon is a 5-star Salesforce consulting partner who won Salesforce Military Hiring Partner of the Year. President Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army who played and later coached for the cadets. He puts that experience to good use at Higher Echelon, where they pride themselves on hiring veterans. Look, not all Salesforce partners are the same. Don't put your company at risk by going with an inferior partner. Higher Echelon is the trusted partner you can count on to get you up and running and seeing returns on your Salesforce investment in a fraction of the time it would take if you go it alone. Go to higherechelon.com. That's HIGHERECHELON.com to learn more. Go higher and go Army.
The Rethink Kitchen and Bath event is going on now at the Home Depot, with great new ideas for the busiest rooms in the house, like the Delta Porter 8-inch widespread bronze bath faucet, now just $119. With a stunning high-arch spout and oil-rubbed bronze finish, it's the difference between taking a bath and taking a bath further. Rethink the kitchen and bath with a Delta Porter widespread faucet, now just $119 only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only, valid through October 1st.
Welcome back, Army sports fans. This is Bill Crawdad Crawford, and before we get into the second segment, I would like to mention one of our other sponsors, Nick's Ristorante, which, as I say, is a driver and a pitching wedge south.
Say that again. I want to hear that Italian accent.
Nick's Ristorante, driver and a pitching wedge south of the intersection of Bailey Cove and Weatherly. The 6th through the 9th of September, they have a great keyboard player and comedian, Steve O. Johnson, and the best food in town. So go see Nick. One other thing, Coach Vitti, before we get to you, I think I goofed up the introduction of our guest host, Patrick Saxby. So Patrick, mea culpa, I'm so sorry about that. And now we're going to go ahead and bring on a friend of the show. I think his family is a friend of the show on Facebook, and that is Coach Mike Vitti. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. Always good to talk with you guys. Thanks for having me back.
Well, thanks for taking some time with us. We're going to start our interview with Colonel Tom Economy.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? So this year's a big year, right? You've made the change from fullbacks to the offensive line. How did that change come about?
Yeah, just the natural progression in coaching, guys. Always, it's a pretty fluid industry. So Saga Tuateli, who's been with our program the last couple of years, had an opportunity out at Fresno State to take a job in a run game coordinator title. And I think as Coach Munkin kind of just looked at what was appropriate for the next steps with the program, explored a few options, and then approached me about moving positions, shifting roles within the offense and within the program, and having a pretty solid background with the team and our scheme specifically, and intimately knowing our guys, approached me about it, and I said, absolutely, Coach, whatever whatever's best for the program, however I can serve, glad to do it.
Well, if the O-line group performs the way the fullback group did, I think we're in pretty good shape. Hey, Coach Vitti, this is Patrick Saxby. Hey, good to talk with you. Had an offensive philosophy question for you. Sure. Zach Harding, incredible asset to have on the team. Can't really describe what he did or how to replace him. So I just wanted to know if you could share a few thoughts about how losing a talent, the ability to flip the field as easily as he did, obviously that eased the burden on both the offense and the defense. Losing him to graduation, does that change our play calling philosophy or mentality on 3rd and 4th down play calling?
It's not going to change anything from a conversion down situation, but just talking about the importance of that position and us, I think one of the things we do really well in the program, we work tremendously between an offense, defense, and kicking unit. I think going into any game, we all understand what value our offense, our defense, our special teams game brings to an opponent, what our advantages are, and how to really call the game accordingly from all three phases. And Zach was one of those guys who he was a weapon. He was a weapon for both sides of the ball. He was the bridge between the offense and defense. And, there's not a play in football where there's an average of 40 to 50 yards to be gained on any given play. And Zach was just a master at his craft. So I'm excited about, the guys who are going to take over for Zach. But no, from an offensive philosophy standpoint, it doesn't change how we're going to call the game or our aggression on 4th down.
Well, hey, Coach, this is Crawdad. Speaking of impacts on the game, one of the things we've been wondering about is, and I'm sure this is right up your alley, is the new change on the blocking rules for the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about that change and how, if at all, it's going to impact Army football?
Yeah, so the major change is no below-the-waist blocking on the perimeter. So really outside the tackle box and the initial charge distance of the tackle box. So within that really 1 yard radius. It's going to change things on the perimeter for our slot backs, for our receivers. They made an adjustment to the rule back in 2018 where you used to be able to cut 30, 40, 50, it didn't matter, downfield anywhere on the field, and had to be 10 and 2. But now, then they changed it to 5 yards in 2018. And now when they looked at some studies trying to make the game even safer, deemed that as a huge safety risk. So that rule doesn't just affect, our brand of football. It affects, programs who traditionally use the H-back, the sniffer type guys. Really that block that was happening from, on split zone stuff, inside the zone stuff, and then certainly on the back side of linebackers on level 2 when a lineman would get upfield. Or now the thing that's really not discussed on the rule that I think is going to change some things, out on the perimeter when you're running tunnel screens, any type of screen pass, or you have cornerbacks cutting down offensive linemen or any bigger back who's going to lead block, defenders can no longer go low on those guys who don't have the ball. So, it'll be interesting to see how the rule plays out. I think those who, the rules committee is always trying to make this game safer. And, we've had to adjust some things on what we're going to do schematically. But I haven't seen it hurt us much from the spring and the fall. We've had ACC officials and different officials come do our scrimmages and watch us practice, and have met with them multiple times and make sure we have 100% clarity on the rule and teaching our players the right things. And I think we were penalized but one time for one of those blocks during our scrimmages.
Hey, Coach, so it looks like that we have pretty good depth coming back on the offensive line. Who are some names that we should be looking for, people that you think are going to be able to make a good contribution this year?
Yeah, so it starts in the middle with Connor Bishop, 3-year returning starter, team captain, a guy we're really high on just from his leadership standpoint. But right there with him, junior Connor Finucane, who's been named to our leadership council. He started a few games as a direct freshman, tough guy, really knowledgeable, passionate about the program. Then two guys that are really emerging that we're excited about at our tackle position: Shane Buckingham, Simon Dellinger. Really, really bigger, longer, athletic guys that we've been developing and feel like they're going to have a lot of value added. And then Jackson Flipowitz, who probably had the best spring of all linemen. He's a multiple guy. He can play guard or center. For us, he's going to be the left guard. So those guys are doing great. But then we feel strong about that junior class. There's about 8 or 9 guys in that junior class who I feel have the pedigree, have the mindset, have the discipline, have all the technical skills to develop into a really good unit for the next several years. But those are 5 just to name off the bat.
That's depth for sure. Hey, Coach Vitti, this is Patrick again. Just wanted to ask about just how you connect with players on a daily basis. This is obviously a different generation of player than even when you were on the team, and that was just 15 years ago or so. So do you find it difficult nowadays to connect to them, or is it kind of more the same? You're just you're one of them, but you're a leader to them.
Yeah, I've been fortunate since kind of leaving the game as a player to be a platoon leader, to still be around young folks through the Army where you're still connecting with young soldiers, and then transitioning almost immediately after service back to football where you're involved with recruiting and you're almost resetting your clock to that 17-year-old, 18-year-old. So for me, that's one of the things I've leaned on. I think relationships really matter. I think building that culture at which you're kind of striving that person to become 4 or 5 years down the road. I start in the recruiting process. You start that as a junior on who you are, what the program's about. Because if you just bring that in and you hope to develop it, you really don't know what you're getting either. And I find it the same. I find it the same in the sense that the right kids who come to West Point vet themselves out of the recruiting process, and they end up just being our kind of guys. The guys who are West Point men, Army football players, future servant leaders of our country. I think that DNA strand, whether it's 2022, 1922, 1822, I think those are same. I think those are same folks. I really do.
Hey, Coach, this is Crawdad. We're short on time. Firstly, thank you so much for coming on with us. You've always been a good friend of the show. And even back when you were walking across the country, I think we had you on. Yeah. And just real quick, give me 2 names of people on the team that are not on the offensive line, but names that we're going to hear a lot about this year.
The offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, offense.
Okay. Cole Catterbone.
Okay.
And I think I gave you guys Josh Langenfelter last year. Is that right?
Yeah, the tight end.
Oh, yep.
So have you talked Coach Monken into using a tight end now?
Yeah. Josh played a lot of football. Josh is a multiple guy. He's a true Y for us. But I would give you Cole Catterbone, and then I'll give you Maurice Ballon.
Yeah, that's one we were thinking you might mention. He's been all over the videos during the preseason, and we can't wait to see y'all beat the Maddox, the Rooster, and the Chanticleers. So we will thank you for coming on with us tonight, and take it to them, man. Go for it. Keep the offense on the field and keep their offense off the field.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate you guys always representing our brand the right way and having our staff on your show frequently. You guys do a great job.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
We're going to go ahead and take a break now, and then we come back. We will have blogger extraordinaire Johnny Brooks. Remember, use NorthAlabamaMortgage.com for all your mortgage needs, and go have a meal at Nick's. This is Crawdad. We'll be back in a bit.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
What's better than Valley Equipment Rental? Two Valley Equipment Rentals, and that's just what we have now. The original on the South Memorial Parkway between Drake and Airport Road, and their second location on North Memorial Parkway just north of Winchester Road. Valley Equipment is locally owned and has more skid steers, excavators, and lifts than anyone in the area, plus all the small tools that you need to get the job done like a pro. And if you are a pro, you need to check out the new North location now because Valley Equipment has what you need. Learn more at valleyequipmentrents.com.
Organizations using Salesforce know how powerful the platform is and how much time, money, and headaches it saves if it's set up right and you know how to use it. Let's face it, Salesforce is complicated and time-consuming to figure out, and a lot can go wrong now and down the road without expert help. That's why most Salesforce users work with an implementation partner like Higher Echelon, so they get the absolute most out of their Salesforce investment. Higher Echelon is a 5-star Salesforce consulting partner who won Salesforce Military Hiring Partner of the Year. President Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army who played and later coached for the cadets. He puts that experience to good use at Higher Echelon, where they pride themselves on hiring veterans. Look, not all Salesforce partners are the same. Don't put your company at risk by going with an inferior partner. Higher Echelon is the trusted partner you can count on to get you up and running and seeing returns on your Salesforce investment in a fraction of the time it would take if you go it alone. Go to higherechelon.com. That's HIGHERECHELON.com to learn more. Go higher and go Army.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
Welcome back, Army sports fans. This is Bill Crawdad Crawford coming to you for the final segment of the show. We're not going to have a break in 15 minutes. We're just going to roll on. And again, I want to remind everybody that you are listening to us on the Blitz now, which is the new sister streaming station of 97.7 The Zone. Occasionally we will be on this station. Next week we'll be on the air at 97.7. But every week, if you download the Blitz app, just go to the App Store and get it, then you will be able to listen to every Army game streamed live throughout the season. And that's a pretty good deal. You know, just take your iPhone with you wherever you are. If you're out cutting the grass or whatever you're doing, put your headphones on and listen to Army.
And they're going to restream the show before the games?
Yes, and they will restream this show before the game. So
yeah, doesn't that make for a great Saturday?
That makes for a great Saturday. Well, hey, speaking of making a great Saturday, we have blogger extraordinaire, Mr. Johnny Brooks, joining us now. Johnny, are you there?
I'm here, Bill. Tom, newbie.
Yeah, the newbie. He's been performing well tonight.
Yeah.
We're gonna give him an A+. So
yeah, he's an active duty major, so we get to we got some like real Army people here now.
Yeah, Tom loves it when he outranks people on the show, and he outranks me, but I'm in the first chair. But so that's neither here nor there. Well, Johnny, you've done a lot of analysis prior to the season, and you have a plethora and a wealth of information. So I'll ask you this right off the bat: who do you think not will be, but should be the starting quarterback?
Oh man, that's the $64,000 question.
Yeah.
If you listen to Coach Munkin the last month, he has said all along that he's got 4 good qualified, high-performing quarterbacks, and he could go with any one of them on any given day. He likes to ride that horse, Tyler, so it looks like he's going to ride Tyler. They're with them all the time. I mean, I'm not with them. None of us are with them. They know these kids. They know their capabilities. So you got to go with what the coach is saying. However, he did say you can expect four guys to play, or 3 guys, or 2 guys. So I mean, I got indication from him yesterday that maybe he's going to play every other series, Ballard and Tyler. It's kind of sounded that way. So we will see.
So, Johnny, welcome back again, first of all. So as you look at this year's Army football team, what are the key factors that you think are going to dictate our success this year?
Well, always, you know me, guys, always it's the offensive line on the Army football team. And I got to tell you, for about since Toth was a senior, since that time, I've gone into every season reluctant and somewhat hesitant in believing what they could do. But the coaching staff has kind of convinced me this year that we have tremendous quality and tremendous depth at the offensive line position. So, I mean, I think we got the 10 that we need, and we need 10, and they need to be interchangeable. I think they're there. So we're going to see. Again, you got to trust the coaching staff.
Yeah, it does seem like we just rebuild and replace every year on the O-line. So I hope you're right. Johnny, I don't know if you saw the press conference after the scrimmage last Saturday, but Coach Monken was pretty candid about his displeasure with the performance of the offense and really just how the scout team defense took it to him. Do you think there's any concern there, or is that just typical Coach Monken leading into week one, kind of a downplaying the ability of the offense?
He does that every year.
Mm-hmm.
But I do kind of, I think he's probably got some reason to be a little bit concerned. But I did see a press conference, was it yesterday or the day before, where he did not show any more concern.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, in his conference yesterday, he was just talking about the quality of the preparation and the focus. Yeah, no, it was a pretty upbeat press conference yesterday.
Well, one thing I'd like to get your opinion on, and this is my favorite player on the team, is Markel Broughton. He is number 20. He's a defensive back, and he's also
safety.
A defensive back is a safety, Tom. For
be a little bit more specific, though.
He is a safety, which is a member of the defensive backfield. But how many times do you recall a football player having 6 cadet stripes on their sleeve? I don't recall that happening at all, frankly.
Well, yeah, it used to happen all the time.
Well, let's don't go back to the Pete Dawkins days.
Or Coach Vitti.
Coach
Vitti was a regimental
we had
commander.
6 stripers, but they made a deliberate decision some years ago to basically keep football players from competing for 5 and 6 stripes because they felt it was too time consuming and they couldn't do both jobs. This year they went back. I mean, they got Bishop is a sergeant major. And the two of them worked together this summer. They were the Garrison Command and the Garrison Command Sergeant Major. So they're doing this for a reason, and I'm glad to see it because we used to have a lot of 6 stripers and 5 stripers who were football players.
Well, when I was a firstie, I ended up being a no striper for a while, but that's a horse of a different color. And
I don't think anybody's surprised, Bill.
But hey, for our listeners, if you're not familiar with cadet ranks at West Point, 6 striper means you're one of the top probably 2% of cadets at West Point, and we're glad to see Markel doing that great, and he's also been very great on the field. Tom, take it away.
Yeah, so Johnny, on the defensive side, we're returning some key talents, but man, we got a lot of places that we have to replace some talent. Any thoughts on like who's going to shine? Maybe at linebacker.
You know, that is a big question. We apparently have a whole bunch of linebackers. And there's not a lot of difference between them because they had a heck of a time deciding who were going to be the top 8 linebackers and whether they're going to be inside or outside. I see they moved this. They settle on this yearling that doesn't have a down of college football, Crummy. He's going to be the big guy and start in the middle along with Leo Lowen. Lowen's got some experience because he played as a safety as a plebe, and then they moved him to linebacker last year. So he's got some experience, but he played behind Smith last year. So he's got a little bit of catching up to do. And, of course, Andre Carter stands by himself. I mean,
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's going to stand by himself, but he's going to have 2 or 3 guys on him all year long. So we'll see how he does. And then the other kid, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, Charlo, the other outside linebacker, is taking Malcolm Morrison's place. He played a lot last year. So there's some experience in there. And the backup guys, there's not a lot of experience at all, the number 2s at linebacker. This is really a really good problem to have or a really bad problem to have. And I guess we're going to find out Saturday.
Yeah, sticking on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, we're returning 6 starters, so it's not like the cupboard is bare. But talking about Andre Carter, he's obviously garnering an incredible amount of attention, and for good reason. Last year, obviously his performance was incredible. You could argue, though, part of that is due to Nolan Cockrell essentially being double-teamed on just about every single down. Nolan Cockrell is gone. I know Kwabena Bonsu is back for a 5th year. How do you see replacing Nolan Cockrell going a nose tackle? It's kind of the anchor of that defense on the line.
Well, I see they've got Felici in there as the starting nose tackle and backed up by Komorowski. I don't know what happened to Richardson. He was the guy predicted to be the starter, but he's not on the depth chart. Of course, the depth chart's only 2 deep. And they've got a couple other guys that they talk highly about, plebes and yearlings that might get some playing time on the defensive line, mostly at the end position. It's going to be hard to replace Cockrell. It'll be very hard to replace Cockrell. I mean, he just was a mainstay there in the middle. But they speak highly of this kid, Felici, who's a big guy, by the way, 300-pounder. So he's a little harder to push around than was Cockrell. But Cockrell was a beast.
Well, Johnny, you mentioned the depth chart. Just for our listeners, they need to know that the Army depth chart, probably the best usage for that paper is at the bottom of a bird cage, because it doesn't really ever mean anything at all. And you never know who's going to start until actually take the field. But that's neither here nor there. One question I have is I've looked at the schedule, and I think we're poised to possibly just have a great season. But how important is our first game against a very tough Coastal Carolina team?
Well, it's going to set the pace for the rest of the year. They're a good ball club. They return a lot fewer players at starting positions than do we. They've got some talented athletes. Their defense is going to fly. I think this is going to be the fastest defense we've seen since Duke. What was it, 4 years ago? Opening game.
That's
that was
right.
as quick a defense as I've seen in a long time. But their defense was shallow last year and was hurting, and some of those kids are still there. So I think this is going to be a very, very good football game, and I don't think anybody could call it right now. There's too much uncertainty on both teams. Too many things. If we do what we do, play Army football, keep the ball for 8 to 10 minutes on a drive and finish the drive up with a TD, we're good to go. Because that's going to keep Mr. McCall off the field, and that's the most important thing we can do, is to keep him off the field.
Yes, we do need to keep him off the field, and we'll get into him in just a little bit. But, you're saying it's going to be a tough game to call. Reminds me of the old Three Stooges line where they said, Dr. Ziller, would you say yes or would you say no? And he said, I wouldn't say maybe, but I might. So, who knows what's going to happen in this game.
That's very insightful, Bill.
That's knocking it out of the park. Well, hey, Johnny, before we let you go, we are going to put you on the spot, as we always do. Give us a prediction.
One other thing I want to mention is that all the special team's specialists are freshmen or redshirt freshmen for Coastal Carolina, except the long snapper. He's the only guy that's got to down a football, probably at least. I guess a redshirt freshman could have 3 games. But I think something's going to happen on their special teams that may turn this game around. You want a prediction? I will tell you the Army team is going to show. It's going to be a rugged game. He who plays the hardest. And if the Army offense stays on the field about 10 minutes longer than the Coastal Carolina offense, then the Army team will come out a victor.
Well, here's hoping you're right. And again, we appreciate you calling in to us tonight and sharing your insights as usual. We'll go ahead and let you go, and with a big go Army.
Johnny, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Johnny.
Pleasure, guys.
Okay, folks, again, we're not going to take a commercial break, so we're just going to roll right into the analysis of the game versus Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers. And I'm going to throw a trivia question out there. And if anybody calls it, they will get my respect. I don't have a prize to give them, but hey, so what? Maybe maybe later on. But the trivia question, you can call the answer in to 256-576-4977. And the question is this: the Coastal Carolina mascot is the Chanticleer, which is a rooster, which was derived from their former relationship with the South Carolina Gamecocks. But if anybody can tell me how the name Chanticleer came about, what book it was taken from, that's the trivia question. 256-576-4977. So let's roll right into the old Chanticleers. I doubt anybody. That's from the bizarre mind of me.
You asked me that question before the show, and I just started drooling. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you'd care, but yeah.
Well, it's just it's only trivial if it's important to you. So we play the Chanticleers at their field in Conway, South Carolina, 20,000 seat Brooks Stadium, and their quarterback is Grayson McCall. And Patrick, tell me what you know about Grayson.
Well, obviously. Mr. Mollett, he led the nation in QBR last year, and so that can't be understated. I did want to point out, though, and Johnny kind of talked about this, they lose a lot of weapons. They lose their top running back, their school record all-time leading wide receiver, their all-time leading tight end, and 3 of their starting O-linemen from last year. So he's possibly the greatest passer in the country. I just don't know who he's going to pass it to.
Well, not only that, I think he had the highest quarterback rating of ever in college football last year, second to Mac Jones of Alabama. And Tom, that's the kind of guy that scares me to death. It reminds like a Daniel Jones or somebody like that who can pick us apart if they get going really well. We've got to keep them off the field. That's all there is.
Yeah, no, I mean that's. You say that, and it didn't really work against Wake Forest last year, and we just scored a ton of points, right? I mean, I think this is an interesting matchup. I think that what's interesting to me is how, we talked about being on the show doing the show for over 10 years. We used to just completely talk about the offense, and I think the fact that we have developed a defense that can play, I think that we stand a chance of being able to hold them in check at least enough to win. I think our defensive backs are good. I think most of the time our defense is good. We have an exceptionally mature, strong safety. I think having Markel Broughton back this year is going to be critical. And then Andre Carter, hopefully this guy just doesn't have any time. Army football is maintaining the ball, maintaining time of possession. But I think defensively, we're going to be able to play with them.
Well, we are the over and under points for this game is, I think, 56 is what I've seen, and they are favored by 3.5 points. I wouldn't be surprised, like Wake Forest, if there's almost 100 points on the board before the game is over.
I could see it going either way. I mean, Johnny talked about it. There's a lot of uncertainty on both teams. I could see a shootout where last team wins, or I could see, a low-scoring game and, with a couple of turnovers and, just well under the 52 points.
What about you, Patrick, the newbie?
The newbie, the new cadet, the active duty major new cadet. So something I think is interesting, I kind of was reminded of the Oklahoma game a couple years ago where we just stayed on the field because of how dangerous Kyler Murray was. And I think that needs to be our goal here, although I'm very nervous because if I'm Coastal Carolina, I'm looking at that Wake Forest film and I'm learning how to do the slow mesh because we had no idea what to do with that. Fortunately, when we have the ball, their defense is 93rd. Last year they were ranked 93rd, and they are 104th in S&P Plus on defense.
In what?
S&P Plus. It's a Bill Connolly ESPN
Well, hey,
ranking.
since Bill Connolly ain't in this studio, tell us what S&P Plus means.
It's just his metric on returning production, bringing in new recruits from previous years, and it's updated weekly. But they only returned 46% of production from last year, and they only bring back 3 starters from last year. So not a good defense last year. They bring back only 3 starters. I can't imagine they're just magically going to get better. We bring back a lot of weapons on offense. So I think that it might look like Army against Wake Forest did last year.
Well, it's interesting when you say that because one of the things when you're starting when a program just suddenly matures like Coastal Carolina did about 3 years ago, it's because they're very fortunate to get a group of athletes that gel, that they can put together, they can execute. The odds that they can turn around and recreate that to have the depth that a much more mature program would, that's a big ask for them. So that's an interesting point.
Well, funny you should mention that. What has Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, done in the last couple of years? Well, the teams that have double-digit wins in 20 and 21 are Bama, BYU, and Coastal Carolina. They're the only ones who have. Their record last year was 11-2. They average 40.9 points a game, and that's pretty. That's not Bill Connolly stats. That's just Bill Crawford Crawdad stats, stuff written down with an old goofy-looking ink pen. And they have a pretty balanced offense: 228 rushing yards per game, and 265 passes. That's a lot. They are going to be a team to be reckoned with. And their quarterback had a chance to leave, enter the transfer portal, go anywhere he wanted to, or even turn pro. And he said, no, I am staying here as a Chanticleer. In fact, their field, by the way, is teal. And Mr. McCall, their quarterback, says, when I go to the bathroom, it's teal colored. So he's a Chanticleer through and through. So we are going to have our hands full, I think, Saturday night. By the way, remember, you can stream the game live on this station, on the Blitz, or if you want to watch it on TV, you have to go to ESPN Plus. That's the only way you can catch the broadcast.
And unfortunately, you have to pay the $5.99. It's so expensive.
That is so expensive, but I pay it every month anyway because there's a lot of good stuff on ESPN Plus. So, anything else about Coastal Carolina, Tom? You got anything?
No, I mean, I think it's the Army's keys for success are almost always the same, right? We can't turn the ball over. We can't have penalties. We need to have, as Johnny said, 8 to 10-minute drives. We need to keep them off the field, and then if we do that, we win a ball game.
Okay, and I tend to agree, and Patrick, I'm sure you would echo those sentiments quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Just mistake-free football. No penalties. Keep the ball off the ground, and I think that'll bode well.
Okay, quick pick. I'm going to say Army 49-42.
I think it's a last team with the ball. I'm saying Army 35-31.
Patrick.
I'm going to go 44-41.
Hey, we're all homers, but that's okay. This is an Army show. Well, folks, we're going to get out of
here. Ever picked against Army?
No. We got to wrap it up pretty quickly. And remember, what I say is this. no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing, somewhere in this world, there's a soldier standing a watch so you can enjoy the life you live. And we still have a lot of soldiers who are deployed everywhere. Hopefully they can listen to this Army game. Please, if you get a chance and you need a mortgage, you go see Brian Hammaker at NorthAlabamaMortgage.com. They will solve your mortgage needs. They solved mine. And if you have a hunger for a good meal or some comedy or to see an extraordinary keyboard player, pop into Nick's Restaurante the 6th through the 9th of September. And again, next week we will be back live with you on 97.7 The Zone at 1900, 7 p.m. Central Time. Any closing thoughts, guys? Because we're about to get out of here. Bailey gave us the old hurry up signal, like an illegal procedure. Oh, we got a minute till the music comes on. So, close.
You cut us off, and
Now there's a 60-second awkward silence. We'll just stare at each other.
Now, go ahead. Any closing thoughts on the season? What do you have us going this year? Any thoughts on that yet?
Yeah, I mean, Patrick talked about it a little bit at dinner. I mean, our schedule is definitely front-loaded. Potentially our two toughest games are our first two games, and certainly the first 5 games are, I mean, if we came out of those 3-2, we ought to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I agree. 3-2 is probably realistic. Don't know what Wake Forest is going to look like if Sam Hartman's going to be back. Georgia State, even though at home, one of the more experienced teams in the country, and UTSA won the conference last year, 10 or 11 wins. I mean, there's no telling. We can go 6-6 or we can go 10-2 and anywhere in between.
Well, my call is 10-2. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And who knows? You know, this first game is going to be clear. It's going to set the tone for the season. And the Chanticleers are a force to be reckoned with.
I would just warn on putting too much emphasis on this. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns. We got a lot of players that are new. I mean, we could look poor and have a great season. I don't think this is going to set the tone. I mean, we'd like to win, but if we don't play well, we can still have a great season.
And you guys are both going to be there watching it in person.
Absolutely.
Right? Yep, I'm going to be sitting in the living room watching it on ESPN Plus with a big, huge TV in front of me and some friends. And Bailey is giving us the illegal procedure sign again.
That's right.
I guess that means we can keep on talking.
No, we're done.
Oh.
Department. Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256.
Joe, Jim, and Jay Chad with you at Truist Park. Braves on top of the Rocks, 3-0. Georgia Lottery home run jackpot inning, and Austin Riley will lead it off. Our contestant, Jeff Melton of Woodstock, Georgia, with $3,250 in the jackpot. First pitch is low, ball 1. Austin's already homered tonight, and he's struck out. He hit a 2-run shot in the first inning. Wind in the pitch, low again, ball 2. Ryan Feltner at 86 pitches. They do have some action in their bullpen. Left-hander, Austin Gomber. 2-0. Like a changeup floated in there for a strike. A little grimace on the face of Austin Riley. 2-1. Strike call at the top of the zone again, 2-2. $3,250 in the jackpot for a homer. The 2-2. Up and in. Ball 3. Payoff pitch on the way. Curveball got him swinging. Nice comeback there by Feltner.